go ahead and open up the doors. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. My name is Becca Dukes, and as the hostess of this program, it is my honor and privilege to be able to offer empowering information that can be used as a resource and tools in your toolbox of what you can do all on your own to help you choose a different health journey. And today, like no other, we have some more information that is coming to you that gives a little bit of different perspective on what you can do to help the body and the cells within. Now, the purpose of this program is for educational purposes only. It is not meant to take the place of your primary care physician. With that being said, folks, when you give the body what it needs, the body itself can do some amazing things. So this is a resource for an amazing community. So if somebody referred you to this program to watch any part of it or any of our programs, please make sure that you get back with them. Tell them thank you for sharing the information with you. And if you have any questions or would like to try anything that is recommended within our programs that has to do with products, make sure that you get back with the person that shared this program with you. If there is nobody to thank, if nobody referred you, if there is nobody that you have ever spoken to about Dr. Wallach, Daily with Doc, Critical Health News, myself, or the longevity products, then feel free to give us a call at 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. And again, this is for those who have never spoken to anybody before in regards to anything that we talk about on our program. So we also have this program being sponsored by DailywithDoc.com, which is my website that offers the replays of this program. Also additional information that can be used as resources, including the 10 good foods, bad foods list, replays from our previous, and also some special segments that are offered with Dr. Joel Wallach and pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Just things, folks, that we know can add value to the information that you use to make decisions for your health of your families. As we're sharing and creating better health within our families, our communities want to know about it, and together we can create a healthier world. So today's guest is somebody that we have had on before in the past. She has many certifications. She's board certified, serves as the national director and microcurrent pain specialist at Erasing Pain Holistic Centers in Sacramento, California. She has the alphabet soup, which I love alphabets. Okay. FMC, CMCT, HHP, CWHC, and we're going to be asking her for what those actually mean with her credentials. But she currently sees clients at 2 different clinics for functional medicine nutrition while using microcurrent and THC light therapies to shorten the healing curve. So today's topic, folks, is looking for pain relief from a holistic perspective. Now, she regularly volunteers, works in Sacramento with area practitioners to broaden their scope and knowledge and research of all pain, physical, emotional, and the theory of inflammation. So on a regular basis, she travels and presents on the impact of biofeedback, microcurrent, and nutrition, and can provide to health professionals and advocates, and even those looking for a second opinion, natural alternative at-home pain care. So with 15 years of experience in the Naval Services, which we just celebrated Veterans Day, thank you so much to all of our veterans once again, and Yvonne for all of your service to our community and for those who continue to serve, as Yvonne does, is she has found the love for sciences after assisting numerous autopsies and has since logged in thousands of schooling, research, and internship hours. She covers inflammation, pain, non-healing wounds, and nutritional science, all as it relates to dis-ease and regeneration of tissue, coupled with electroceuticals using devices that NASA has created using frequency, such as biofeedback, microcurrent, PEMF, quantum scalar, terahertz light, and more. So, Yvonne, all of these things, and I'm going to have you come on screen with me, please. Over your life, you have all of these things that you've done. What really stimulated your desire and thought into, going down this route when it comes to a career?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, to be honest with you, when I got out of high school, I went to our community college for a couple hours, and just it wasn't for me. Floundered around for a little bit, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and stumbled upon the military. At one point in my life, I wanted to join them, but then I decided not to. But the opportunity just really came about. I think it was a God thing, because I was feeling a little lost, and yeah, they had an opening that I had to leave for immediately, and so I took it. From there, I did 15 years working at several naval medical and dental facilities, ultimately running the last two hospitals. I was working in the department of, in the dental department, assisting everywhere from the OR to autopsies, which was probably my most favorite. And I think it was that point that my love for the sciences began to develop. But helping people is always just been, what I love to do. Somewhere along the way, I had somebody just teach me about that. And, one of my favorite examples is that of Christ, and he served others. And I get jazzed serving others. So I would say a lot of that had to do with the steps that I took.
Well, and I, from personal experience, folks, have been able to experience Yvonne and her serving others, as I've had several meetings and appointments with Yvonne using a lot of the stuff that we are going to be talking about today. And from personal experience, folks, it's amazing how the body and its electro currents throughout it, when they get blocked, hinder the body's ability to be optimal. So, Yvonne, let's look at your alphabet soup for just a minute, okay? FMC, explain to us what that is.
Well, functional medicine. So I had a doctor that trusted in me and brought me on board with him, and got to get my credentials in functional medicine. I am not a doctor, but I did get to go through that schooling. So the C does stand for coach.
Okay. And how about CMCT?
Absolutely. And so that is, I'm certified with the Hache protocol, which is a massive credential in our community. But for microcurrent therapy, there's many that are certified microcurrent, and most of it is in the musculoskeletal and athletic training. Dr. Hachet's protocol. A lot of people that are in the medical community will take his training because it goes so much further than just the musculoskeletal. We have been trained. I mean, think about this. NASA uses the device that I use. They go into space. They cannot do IVs. They cannot do surgeries. They had to come up with ways to continue to help the astronauts. Obviously, the Russians and the Germans, they were leaps and bounds ahead of us in electromedicine. And but somewhere in the 90s, many of you might remember the TENS unit. That is, does one of two things. It either blocks a nerve signal or it stimulates a muscle, but there's no real regenerative. There's no, for the tissue itself. But that's what those numbers or those letters mean. And I trained with him for almost 8 years. Still do, actually, but in a different practitioner. So there are several credentials out there that you can receive, and part of what they do is they ensure that the schooling that you have had actually has some merit and it meets with their credentials, and it is with the American Drugless Practitioners Association. So everything I do is non-invasive, and we do not, prescribe any pharmaceuticals.
I love that with the non.
Yes, yeah. And I actually do have some other credentials, but I don't put them there for nutrition. And besides the functional medicine, that also includes functional nutrition. I would say that my certification with the Institute of Holistic Health by far continues to be the most valuable money spent. And the community, very different than some of the others that I have been through. And there's many out there. There's a couple that claim to be some of the largest online. I have those credentials and I paid for those. But I would say 40, maybe even 50% of the schooling, it was about how to get your business up and running, how to market, and any continuing education that you have is all paid for. And they teach based on fractionated nutrition. So they do not, even though it, they understand it's stated about, the 60 minerals or the 90 essentials, they would pick some of their favorites. And, one of them said, I really like this one because, and then he went in to share about what happened with his grandmother and how that particular nutrient, pulled her out of what she was going through. But even still, if you don't have all the pieces, you're going to get fractionated repair. It's going to be repair for a small time. But as we know, like with the 4 categories of tissue, there are category types, and our symptoms, it tells us all. And I'm kind of like a Columbo in that I ask a ton of questions, so much so that I actually got I got kicked out of Sunday school class because the teacher thought I was challenging her. And when I was in the military, I asked so many questions that the girls, tied my hands behind my back at one point. They said, quit asking questions. We just want to get out of here.
Well, questions is how we find information. So I love the fact that you are a question asker. And today we have a presentation that you would like to share. So let me go ahead and put that up. And let's see, where exactly do you want to start? Because it looks like I don't have it on the first page here. So we're going to go up to the top. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you, Yvonne. Go ahead and share with us a little bit some of the, I don't want to say alternatives, because we're going to things that are more natural, which was here before allopathic medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. And please stop me at any point and ask a question, because you know, I like dialogue, and so don't hesitate. And I just kind of put a few slides together. I actually started, you know, in nutrition, and I am a Camp Lejeune survivor. I have had quite a few health challenges, and when I wasn't getting relief through the VA and through my HMO, I got to be honest with you, I remembered people coming into the hospital asking about their vitamins and nutrients, or asking about other type of modalities. Like back then, one was the TENS unit and the other one was light therapy. And we would poo-poo that. It was just kind of the general consensus, even though I really didn't know. But the leaders that I was trusting in, they would poo-poo it, so I poo-pooed it. And I truly thought, if this stuff worked, I was at two of the largest training, naval training hospitals, one of them being Balboa. And we would be using this if this really worked. That was my thought. And so it wasn't until I really delved into nutrition as it relates to disease and started going to school. I heard a little bit about you know, this incredible book that was in Davis Medical School Library. And from that, it was answering all kinds of questions. And I'm just going to fast forward a little bit and move this, if you want to go up to the next picture. Just real quick, you know, I work here in Sacramento at actually a couple different clinics. I have my own, and then I also freelance. I collaborate. I love communities. These are just some of the folks that, you know, if you come to see me, you get to work with them. I don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but I know where to go to. And at For Better You Too, which is my company that, you know, I started in 2012, I did that because I couldn't find help for myself. First thing I did find was nutrition. And nutrition got me to a point, but I had some other things going on, and that's where I started to delve into some of these other modalities. And if you want to go to that next page. And then I learned about this thing. This was really something, I got to tell you. We know that we have different categories. And, you know, in the medical community, they'll actually break this up. So if you take a look at number one, your blood sugar endocrine system, that is so subspecialized. And many of you might actually agree, it's almost as if one doc is not talking to the other. They're not cross-referencing. And so oftentimes we have some challenges in improving our health. So for me, what happened was I started on this nutritional path, and this was where I began to see nutrition in action. And actually, I didn't at first. I was taking quite a bit of nutritional supplementation. I was juicing. I was taking all types of foods, clean foods. I did see some changes, but they were very minimal. And the amount of work that I had to do, the cost. And I remember seeing this one nutritional product that my husband tried to bring home. And I said, I looked at the label because I started eventually getting my certification in comparative nutrition. And I said, we have half of that stuff on our counter. Why would I want to take that? Thinking I was already paying for it. What I didn't understand at the time was the depletion of our soils. I mean, it was glossed over in class, but it was not focused upon. But I did begin to understand, okay, symptoms, hard tissue, which would be bone, bone marrow, bone matrix. And I know much of your audience knows this, will have its particular symptoms. And again, I ask a lot of questions. And so I was trying to find the thread. And, your doctor will look for a thread, but it's usually stopped at a certain point because everything is now, it's so subspecialized. But keep an eye, just keep going back to your books. And I want to speak to, there are several, I know practitioners here. Rebecca, you have interviewed some amazing people, and take what you're doing here. It literally is, this is not community college level information that you are offering to people. This literally is Harvard level. This is Ivy League stuff. And I really want to speak to the person that's on the other side that's watching this, because while there is some products also, I think there's over 25 companies that you work with, the information is bar none, nothing like I have personally seen. And, I'm just trying, I want to be respectful of those other schools. But I haven't seen anything that the Institute of Holistic Health is putting out, or what you are doing with Doc and Ben and Steve, and of course Dr. Dirt, Dr. Joanne, Dr. Judy. I mean, the list goes on. And to be able to have these folks, I call it my rounds. On Monday I do my rounds, and we have the ability to tap into all of this education. But I will encourage you back to the list. This list is so easy. I call it my quick cheat chart, because when you're taking a look at it, you can, circle, take this, have your family member circle those symptoms that you're having, and you can easily find how they fall under the categories. And then you begin to look at the top. It'll give you the clue, not only what you're deficient in, but now go back, get the 90 nutrients in you, plus the secret sauce, maybe the chromium vanadium for the blood sugar endocrine system, which is also your hormones, for anybody that's dealing with that, or the digestive and absorption. You've got your stomach acid, which is the upper GI enzymes, pre and probiotics, which is the lower GI. And you will begin to see changes in your symptoms, changes in your health. Just love that. You got a question for me?
Well, I have something to point out, and that's, folks, as you're looking down through here and you see all these different health conditions, or, symptoms rather, I mean, there's multiple for blood sugar. There's multiple when it comes to deficiencies that deal with the hard tissue, the bones, connective tissue. There's multiple here. And many times I have found that when somebody has one, they don't have just one symptom per category. I mean, they've got the digestion and absorption, and then the soft tissue, which is like all of your organs within the body, including the skin. So there's so many different symptoms that are associated with even single nutritional deficiencies, or for most people, it's multiple nutritional deficiencies, and they fall within all categories.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you can learn your symptoms, I'm telling you, you can help anybody. You can help yourself, your family, your friends. You know, one of the things that we're doing here in Sacramento is, as a community, we are bringing wellness centers together, and we cannot see the number of people that we see. And so we began to recognize we've got to get the training out there, mostly the nutrition. Here's what I want you to hear, because I'm getting ready to share some can help the body or get over that proverbial hump. So if you're one of those that was like me, I was on quality nutrition, and I had quite a few things get better, but there were still some things that just, it wasn't working. Well, for starters, dosage is key. Always check your dosage. Always check that it is, I only work with plant companies. And I will tell you, you know, you're going to that I use. I am not loyal to any company. I'm loyal to myself, my family, my clients, and the things that bring results. And I want you to look at those things also, but I'll also check, am I doing the right things? I don't have up here the good food, bad food list, but you know, if we are not following that, you will, you know, slow your nutritional or your rebuild technically. And these other modalities I'm getting ready to show you, while they can help ease the burden, they're going to take burdens off of the body so that these nutrients can go in and do the repair, because none of these other things that I'm using can replace missing tissue. I want you to catch that. Only the raw materials of nutrition can replace missing tissue in my book. Now, again, these other things, if you want to go up to the next one, and this is probably one of my first ones. So nutrition got to me to a certain point, and then I started looking at other ways. So there are so many. Much of what I work in is called frequency medicine. And because it's, you're going to hear, it's these biofeedback, tissue specific. One of the ones that probably works best and fastest is microcurrent. Our body is on a microcurrent electrical sinus waveform, and you know, this device assists in that. So imagine you've got, this literally has a little tiny EKG machine in it. Now, we're familiar with EKGs. If you've ever had one, they put on 12 leads. For me, I only have one lead, and it looks like this. It's one lead, and but one lead at a time. I can find out if you have an electrical block in a shoulder, whether it's the tendon, ligament, a bursa, the bone, the nerve, and these devices can help remove those electrical blocks. And electrical blocks are typically there either because there's too much inflammation or because there's scar tissue. In the presence of inflammation, I want you to think about this. The body is kind of like, or the cells are kind of like, if your emoji, remember the emoji on your phone, the little fire emoji, the cells are like, they're on fire, and they can't reach out to quench easily. They can't reach easily to quench the nutrients. So I use these devices. I also use light and photo biomodulation to begin to reduce the inflammation quickly so the nutrition can get absorbed faster. And this is just one of the devices we use at our clinics here. It's something somebody can get for a home device. Again, our goal is to teach people, you know, what happened a couple years ago. People were not being seen. They were not getting into the hospitals for one reason or another. You know, we know a lot of people that are prepping and they've got tons of food. They've got ways to, you know, keep the lights on. But what are you doing for in the event of a health crisis? Not only can the nutrients help repair, the same, and most of them are relatively easy, and you can't hurt yourself. You might undertreat yourself, but you're not going to hurt yourself.
Definitely my experience from this and your machine that you held up is it's amazing how you can, as you're rolling that across the different areas, how you can feel where the blockages are. And you can feel those blockages being opened up.
Kind of like a when you're driving and you know, a big puddle of water, maybe it was after rain, things just bog down. Yeah, it really is pretty cool. And then you also hear the sound change. And let me just tell you, I know oftentimes when somebody's well hydrated and has nutrients or minerals in them, not only is there an electrical current, but there's a sound. And cells are communicating even faster. And those minerals electrically, for those of us that use electrical devices, we will either apply mineral like a mineral gel topically, and we will take them from like a dial-up to a high speed. And it's really cool to see the changes that happened in the body.
Yeah. Well, and feel the changes. That's
Yes.
all
Well,
about.
and let's take a look at this next. So I'm just going to do a couple little samples of we've got a different. Is that what was next?
That's what's next. What you want to see the next one?
Yeah, yep, the scoliosis. So while nutrition had really helped this gal feel better, it was not doing much for this long-term scoliosis. So, you know, we came in here with our devices. We do not touch the bone, but we have very specific professional protocols, and we soften the muscles on one side, we strengthen the muscles on the other, and you can see the curvature change just here in the pictures. So please note, there are other modalities that can help you get there faster. But again, none of them can replace missing tissue. So oftentimes I work with several chiropractors, and I'm happy to say that most of them all use nutrition because they understand if you're constantly going to a chiropractor week after week or every month because your adjustment, my adjustment holds for 2 weeks, my adjustment holds for 3 weeks, I'm hoping that your chiropractor will let you know the rest of that hold is going to be about your nutrition. And I started using this incredible calcium complex liquid. And that's where I started with people for this type of an issue, because many were already taking a bunch, and they were skeptical about not only the devices I was using, But they kind of felt like, hey, I'm nutritionally sound. So we started them on the calcium, the OsteoFX calcium complex. I have never seen another calcium like that product. And I know I have heard Ben, Dr. Dr. Dirt or Keith, pharmacist Keith, and even Dr. Peter Glidden say, you know, if anybody has a better calcium complex out there, we'll be using it if you've got it, but I've never seen it. So some of the changes, and then people started telling me that they're, without me even touching them with microcurrent, that their adjustments were holding better. They were holding better. And I adopt to like what Dr. Glidden says, or Ben, you know, if you take the minerals for your first month, a higher dosage, you're going to get that, that you're going to front load that tissue. You know, calcium, magnesium, all of these minerals, they're utilized in so many different tissue areas. You don't know exactly where it's going to first. And I love that it's not just a CalMag. A lot of people are taking CalMag. This is CalMag with all of those minerals. And if you understand, minerals they do several things, but here's a simple one. They help all the other nutrients get further into the tissue. And then on their way out, they're detoxifiers. So they start taking the trash out. You know, if you are not taking minerals and maybe you've got some, let's just say some detox problems, some excess weight that's not coming off, outside of checking what you're putting in this pie hole, I'm also going to challenge you, increase your minerals because they will take out the trash.
You had mentioned about, adjustments not holding 2 weeks. I mean, I would have loved to have 2 weeks hold. I mean, there were times where I walked out of the door and lost my adjustment just getting into my vehicle and would have to go back in. And then I started on the nutrition that you're talking about with the OsteoFX, and I was able to go months without an adjustment.
Yeah, as soon as you start to feed that tissue specifically what it needs, it gets stronger. And I neglected to have here with me, but do you remember the Coke cans and those the plastic rings that hold the aluminum cans together?
Mm-hmm.
Your tendons are thin like that, but oh so strong like that. And it's the nutrition that will rebuild. So those tendons, if you just started with the calcium complex, those tendons are going to start to shore up. You'll see a change, but also ligaments. Remember, they're bone to bone. Tendons are muscle to bone. So now you're going to be strengthening down the back as well as either side, paraspinal. And I'm glad that your adjustments are holding, but you'll find many. But this literally it's something that simple. So without getting too complicated, you don't even have to come see me. Start doing that, do your adjustment, add that, even if your doctor is not offering it to you. And I don't know about you, but I put that stuff in my hot chocolate. I pour it over my ice cream. I make Jell-O blocks with it. And I also use the collagen, and I'll make these collagen mineral blocks that are uber tasty.
We're gonna have to get some of those recipes and share them with her sometime.
Absolutely. I'm very purposeful. As a matter of fact, it drives my family nuts. So I do have to make some of my own treats because, there's just a lot of things I won't put in my mouth and I won't share with my clients. What's the next slide you got? I think it might be about inflammation. Yeah. So, again, inflammation is the precursor to pain. We were talking initially that, we're talking about helping your pain relief with holistic and regenerative. Again, the regenerative comes from the nutrition. But I am using microcurrent, light therapy, and many others. And I know our time is getting short, so if you want to just roll up to the next one, we'll show you a couple changes. Frozen shoulder, torn rotator cuffs. Here, this gentleman came in. Here's some kyphosis. Go ahead. I want to be mindful of our time. Kyphosis, as well as this is another scoliosis. And when you begin to strengthen the tissue, using microcurrent, like I said, we don't touch the bone, but we do soften the muscles. Muscles control bone. Tendons, ligaments, they control bone. And so I want you to be encouraged, and I want to talk to those other practitioners that, or even if you are someone who is, you're using nutrition, but maybe somebody that you're working with isn't getting the expected results. I'm going to tell you, if there's scar tissue, there's going to be an electrical block. So going back to microcurrent for a moment, microcurrent, this has an EKG. And so, whether it's the tissue or, if you've had whiplash on the neck, there will be scar tissue. The body's constantly trying to repair itself. So think about that. That tissue is constantly coming together. So there will be scar tissue. Scar tissue is an electrical block. Your electrical runs across the fascia and the connective tissue, and it carries the fluids of the body. It works in conjunction. The fluids will be the conductor. But if you have any scar tissue, that would be one way. And this is a modality. Find somebody in your area that does microcurrent. I do know that we have a doctor in San Diego, Becca, that does do microcurrent, and I should have written down his name. If you need that, I'll find that for you. But or you can reach out to me, and we have a directory of people that do microcurrent. I do use multiple modalities, but microcurrent is probably one of the fastest ways to shorten that healing curve. Bringing nutrition in, and this is working on the electrical. Remember, we're emotional, we're spiritual beings, but we're also electrical. We have light, in us. We have sound. We are affected both health-wise, in a positive manner as well as a negative manner through these. They're technically different frequencies, but through these frequencies of the body. Sound has its own frequency. Light has its own frequency. Electrical, same thing. And all of these modalities can help the body. It's kind of like it takes that burden off, and then you use the nutrition to come in and finalize that repair, because nothing else can actually replace missing tissue.
Yeah, and that's something to think, to keep in mind, folks, as you've got damage going on in the body. Chiropractor is great, but it's not going to strengthen. It's going to put things in line, but not strengthen what keeps it in line.
Yeah, I'm always talking about rebuild, repair and rebuild. Repair can come from many other modalities, but the rebuild has to come from the nutrition. But be willing, be open to couple these together, especially if you're somebody like I was. I was desperate to try to find something that would get me to that next level of my health. And again, dosage will be the next thing. If you know that you are taking the right things, dosage is also key. You cannot take the dosages that are recommended on, many of these labels when it comes to natural nutrition, not synthetic. I'm never going to be talking about synthetic, and expect to get real results. And here's the reason why. It's kind of, I'm looking around my desk to see if I have something, but here's enough to survive the day. And let's add a little more. Here's now enough for you to maintain your current status. We want to get you to the point you have to put in enough in the beginning. You've got to front load, the body. I've heard Ben talk about this. I've heard Doc talk about this. You've got to do enough to front load the body so that there's enough for the construction, the actual rebuild of the tissue. So here's enough to survive. Here's enough to maintain my current status. I'm not necessarily falling backwards too quickly, but get enough in there to where it actually can rebuild. Does that make sense?
It does. And a lot of people say, well, can you over supplement? Your body's going to absorb what it needs. And if it doesn't have enough, then it's not going to absorb enough. So like water soluble vitamins.
Yeah, Dr. Judy just did a wonderful. I mean, that was a class that you would have paid for. I'm telling you, both of her classes. Go back and get those and watch them, and go ahead, get your paper and pen out, because you're going to be taking some serious notes.
Yes. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about that. There are some people that like to keep it simple. Just tell me what I need. And then
Right.
There's other people, they want down deep detail as to what each does, how it works within the body. So I love the fact that we have such an amazing community where we can meet people where they're at.
Yeah. Let's take a look at that next slide. And right now, most of these slides that I've been showing you, because I want to really impress upon, while we need all 90 essentials, these are ones that we just used the calcium complex. This gal here who has the hammer toes, also known as mallet toes, she could no longer walk up steps because she could not feel the step. She couldn't walk up a step without holding on. And it was probably, I think she said, roughly 4 weeks. She was feeling better. We just helped with the scar tissue, and the nutrition began to do the rest. But she was walking and, just caught herself walking straight up the steps to her home without grabbing onto the rail, and was surprised, because remember, if those front toes cannot feel, you are a fall risk. Just like when you have peripheral neuropathy, a lot of times, people think it's balance. You'll have physical therapists that'll talk about balance and core. While that's important, you also have to be able to have that sensation. And with the microcurrent, with our light devices, we were able to help remove those burdens. But when she started feeling heat back to these cold feet, and she went through a little kind of, things get worse before it gets better, right? Because we were stirring some things up. But 4 weeks, and she had been dealing with this, I can't quite remember, 12 plus years, I think it was, and using a cane, obviously with knee pain. This gal had a torn tendon, and numerous times she had never gone in to have it fixed. So I was just working on the microcurrent, and then sent her home with some of the calcium complex. And she's no longer has the limp. She does not have the return of the pain. And yeah, we got Rebuild, and Rebuild is what it's about. If you want to go to that next slide. Here again, using the microcurrent, plantar fasciitis, and carpal tunnel. This is, your hard tissue issues, just like the previous slides. And this is a lot of what I see, but we do work on some other things. If you want to go to that next one, for anybody that might be interested, this is, kind of a basic setup set. And you can always call me and talk to me about it. And the company did say, hey, if you want to offer your clients a special for this community, we can do that. And then the next slide, I think, is just probably there we go. This is how you can contact me if you have any questions. Obviously, like Rebecca said, if someone has already shown you these nutrients, get back to them for that. But if you're looking for somebody that uses microcurrent, and we can use microcurrent in several different ways. I'll just show you real quick. Becca, I can't remember if we talked about the one for the brain health, but I'm a veteran and I offer my time for my community. And one of the biggest things that I see with the veterans is anxiety, PTSD. And so, I'll have them come by, I hook up the device and we put these ear clips on and we'll attach them to the ears. And we run a program called Alpha. It's the Alpha brainwave setting. It's 7 to 12 hertz. But what it does is it begins to bring somebody who's in anxiety, PTSD, they're at a higher brain wave, and we help them bring it down. This is just one way. Obviously, nutrition is another. Using amino acids, plant-derived amino acids, GABA, tyrosine. I'm drawing a blank on some of the others right now, but we can help with anxiety, depression. And then even for like a stroke, somebody who's had a stroke, that is a scar tissue in the brain. And with our devices, we have these pads and they're tissue specific. There's many PEMF devices available. We've got full pads, we've got small pads. I even have small handhelds that you can direct right at the affected tissue, or scalar. You've got scalar waves, Rife waves. Now, Rife waves are they're destructive waves against pathogens, but all of these can help remove burdens from the body. And so I'm just, encouraging anybody who might be listening, if you are struggling or still looking, first check your doses, check your good food, bad food list. And then, of course, the number of minerals you're taking, because minerals are detoxifiers. A lot of people want to do different types of cleanses. Get with a holistic health coach, because I know within the Institute of Holistic Health, they're learning not only how to detox an organ, but there's different detoxing. You're detoxing the blood. That's not the same as detoxing your kidney or your liver. So they're learning how to detox different parts of the body. And Becca, what do you got for me?
We got a few questions. People wanting to know, can this be effective for neuropathies?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, almost immediately. Well, I won't say immediately. Really does depend upon how healthy your body already is. And of course, we're going to be coming in there. The body will, if you're on the nutritional program, The body's been trying to repair itself. So there's going to be some scar tissue buildup. And so what we do is we help go break through that scar tissue buildup so that, again, the electrical can flow to that part of the tissue. And when I talk about the electrical, in other countries, they actually use EKG machines to help the body, not just for diagnosis. Here, we use it for diagnosis only, and we're only finding if there's a block from the heart to the furthest areas of the body. And remember, it will show them in a graph. Is it, right chamber, left chamber, upper, lower valve? What is happening in the heart? But then that's where they stop. NASA continued with, their electrical ceuticals, and we have them available. Most HMOs, you can go to Kaiser, Scripps, Sutter. I don't know what's in your area, but it'll be in, Microcurrent will be in sports medicine. And how many of us get a referral to sports medicine? It's kind of like it's been saved for, the wealthy or the elite, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm worth the investment.
Yes.
Folks, you are worth the investment. Investing now is going to be so much more. Responsive type level.
Where the peroneal nerves are damaged. Is it coming from diabetes? So with diabetes, you've got several organs in play that will impact your circulatory of the blood. And, and there's some other causations, but yeah, we can certainly help you find a way to get past it.
Yeah, there's so much that we can do, and we've got a lot of comments and stuff in regards to pain, stiffness, losing trust in chiropractors with having muscle injuries and that are cranial, cervical, thoracic, and deep into the hip joints, which I have complete understanding of. Having all that damage, having all that pain, because that's where I was at. And then using the nutrition, using modalities like you have spoken about today, and then another one that I'm trying out also, and how they work together, synergistic with the nutrition is.
Well, it's a beautiful marriage. It literally is. I mean, the nutrition does its piece. We are light. If you don't think so, you've seen the movies where they put on the goggles and they are looking and able to see through structures and see the heat, the energy. That energy is light. And I don't know about you, but God even said, I've left my light in you. We know that energy creates a light. So light, wands, different types of lights can help. Some only penetrate the skin, beautiful for the skin. Some will go deeper. We use a couple different light sources, just depending upon what the individual's looking for. We have everything from terahertz lights to just the more surface dermis lights.
I'm liking the terahertz light. I guess my vein side of me, my big gray chunk that was here is reduced greatly just in a couple weeks. And folks, getting that circulation flowing throughout the different areas of the body, when you have nutrition going in and there's blockages in circulation, you're not going to get optimal absorption. that just is kind of common sense. But whenever you use these modalities that help to open things up and increase circulation, it's incredible. I never would have believed it without seeing it for myself, on myself.
Yeah. And there's another one there. There's heat, right? Heat
Mhm.
offers the bone an opportunity to stimulate your immune system. And if you have a good, strong immune system, if you are minerally loaded, the body can begin to produce more red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. And just like the wealthy know this, you are your most important asset. Nobody can do what you do. So they sit in a sauna. They'll take a meeting in a sauna, right? They understand how to relax. They'll do something on the golf course. But heat is another therapeutic that truly, you've heard of somebody will go in for a massage and they'll do the heat stones. What is that doing? That is opening up and helping the bone along the spinal to stimulate the immune system. And there's word out on the streets that it also increases stem cell activity. So heat is another beautiful source that we use. You can use it even if it just means going down to your the gym. If you think we've been virus on a lot of people's mind. If you think that you have a virus, you can either use your blow dryer or get into a sauna. Viruses cannot live above 133 136 degrees, and most saunas are set at like 140 or higher. Your
Yeah.
blow dryer, you can kind of waft it in front of your face. Look up, it's called the Cold Arrest Therapy by Dr. Dan Dimke. He wrote a book back in the 80s about heat and viruses, etc.
Are you talking about regular hair dryer, blow dryers, or are you talking about this red thing that I have next to me?
Oh, well, I'm not talking about Big Red because not everybody has a Big Red, but just to your nasal cavities are cooler than the rest of your body. Viruses want to live in a cool area, and do think about this. We rarely ever have a cold and flu season in the midst of summer because those viruses just cannot populate in the warmth of the summer heat.
Very, very good point. I have one more question. We are over the time here, so thank you so much for being with us. But the question is, what happens to the scar tissue with these treatments as it is restored or bypassed?
Yeah, is it restored or bypassed? It is not bypassed. It's restored. Here's what happens. That connective tissue comes together. Before the scar occurred, much like a wood grain, everything is flowing together, and it has a pattern. So, but when you cut through that tissue or it's damaged, impacted in some way, and that impact could come from a nutritional deficiency, it now looks like a bowl of spaghetti. So what the microcurrent does is we use very professional protocols, but like I was working on my neck because I have had 3 injuries from accidents. One of them was my own fault, a motorcycle, and then a couple were I was rear-ended. And so we come across the scar tissue, and this will help neutralize the electrical buildup that's happening. So much like a beaver dam in a river, that electrical is flowing along, right? And then it comes to a beaver dam. What does the water do? It does one of 2 things. It either sits and spins and creates a vortex, or it tries to find a way around that dam. This will come in and break that up, and now you have the fluid flow coming back to this tissue. What happens with the scar is it blocks. You had, like for me, before the accident or before the scarring, I had a fire hose of nutrition and fluids. Let me just say this, a fire hose of fluids coming through that area. But when there's a scar tissue, it gets reduced to like a garden hose. So while there's still some, now fast forward 10, 20 years, you know, if that happened on your shoulder when you were in high school and you can't figure out, well, I didn't injure this, why is this falling apart? The likelihood is two things, either nutritionally or it's a scar tissue. It's an electrical block based on scar tissue, and then inflammation develops and you get, you know, kind of this layered impact. But yes, it restores it. It does not bypass it. Pretty cool.
Thank you so much for that. And you were talking about the nasal cavity, and we had Dr. Melvin on. We're talking about thermography, and it shows exactly this area being cold.
Yep. And
So-
that's where those virus, you know, they live. They're going to pack the house out. So by using the heat, it will reduce the number of viruses in that cavity.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for joining us here on Daily with Doc. Folks, let's give it up for Yvonne Rae with For You, Better Health for You Too. So I thank you so much for bringing your knowledge, your expertise, and tools that we can put in our toolbox to help ourselves. And those tools you're talking about aren't available. I mean, it's not just that they're available to professionals. Those are things that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Absolutely. Home devices. Yes. If somebody's interested, contact me or Becca. You know, and she can help and I can help. We can help find you relief, because that's what I was looking for, was relief.
Yes, me too. Me too. Thank you so much, Yvonne. And if I could get my co-hosts on the screen with me, I greatly appreciate them. I could not do this program without them, as there are so many different moving parts to getting this streamed out into all the different locations in the proper format for one, speed for another, and using the right apps to make it all work. So I just want to say thank you to Ruth Ellen Sanchez, my executive production manager, as she's helping to keep us all organized, and for Sherry, as she's letting people in and learning how to do all of those things as well, to become the assistant to the assistant production manager, or something like that. And we have Marilyn, who is doing just a fabulous job putting information into the chat, which is one of the biggest advantages of being here live with us in the Zoom at DailywithDoc, zoom.com, Monday through Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. approximately Pacific time, as we are having live presentations 3-4 times a week. We invite you to join us. And if you come on and you see that it says there's no live Zoom, then hey, just go to our YouTube channel, pick up one of the old channels, or Rumble, or Facebook, or Patreon, or Amazon Music, or Google Music. I mean, there's so many different places that you can hear the message that we are providing. And please comment if there's a way to comment, subscribe and follow us, and just share. Throughout communities, within the lives around us. Did I get everybody? Oh, Albert is here helping let people in, and AJ, who is responsible for all of these different locations and getting us plugged into them. I can't thank these people enough, folks. We're going to be having John T. McCollier come on with us and sharing a little more about team building and marketing and using our strengths to benefit a community as a whole. So I look forward to that one as well, as we call that advanced team building. Folks, if you are listening and you want to be part of a team or you have skills, whether they are nutritional or health minded or not, there's so many different skills that go into creating a community that is strong, that is reaching around the world. Get back with the person that shared this program with you and say, hey, I know how to do this pretty good. How can we use this within your community to get this message out? If you don't or have never spoken to anybody about longevity, about Daily with Doc, about Dr. Wallach, and you would like to learn more or get started on a 90-day or 90 essential nutrients, give us minimum 90 days, folks. Give us a call, 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. Or go to the website, DailywithDoc.com. Use that contact option. And we do have our email list to subscribe to that you can even share your questions, submit your questions, and we'll get answers to you based on Dr. Wallach's research and recommendations. My name is Becca Dukes. I am honored to be the hostess of this program and share and bring more information to you in the things that you can do to create a better health journey. Until next time, bye for now.